prescribed by the Bible. Now, how did Sunday become the Christian day of worship? You see, we have gotten things so wrong. We have gotten things so wrong, so I cannot even blame the church that is carrying majek and putting on the pulpit, because everything has been twisted from the beginning. How did we arrive at worshiping God on Sunday? How? How? How did we arrive at Sunday being the Sabbath day? There is no New Testament text saying that God, Jesus, or the apostles changed the Sabbath to Sunday. Not a text, not a word, not a hint, not an idea, not an innuendo, not a direction, not anything. Unless, of course, Paul sent a text message from where he is now, or a telegram, or a telex, or an email. But if it is Bible, there is nowhere in the Bible that Sunday was picked as the new Sabbath. Now, did they teach it in the pulpits? No. An absolute war would have broken loose if they had tried. Especially from the Jewish Christians, who still believe that the Sabbath must be kept holy according to the old law. Paul will have been stoned to death for heresy, blasphemy. It will have been noted that this your Paul was stoned to death for this reason, for trying to bring the Sabbath to Sunday. Now, let's go to the Old Testament so maybe we would understand how important and how valuable the Sabbath was. Okay, let's go to the Old Testament. Let's understand how important the Sabbath day was to God. Numbers 15, I want to read from 32. Numbers 15, 32. While the Israelites were in the wilderness, a man was found gathering wood on the Sabbath day. He was doing what? Gathering wood. Those who found him gathering wood brought him to Moses and Aaron and the whole assembly, and they kept him in custody because it was not clear what should be done to him. The Lord said to Moses, "This man must die. The whole assembly must stone him outside the camp." So the assembly took him outside the camp and stoned him to death as the Lord commanded Moses. Then you want to think one disciple will wake up and now, first of all, you are not supposed to do anything on the Sabbath. Jesus Christ came and healed on the Sabbath. Okay, we agree, healed on the Sabbath. But which one is now to change the whole Sabbath? No, it's not in the Bible. Those of you that are going to Sunday morning service, Sunday evening service, I don't even understand how to describe what people have done to yourselves. Because none of you have sat down your pastors and said, "Come, Mr. Pastor, why are we doing this thing on the Sabbath, on the Sunday? Why?" Up till today, the Jews that used to collect tithe in those days, that people want to die on top of their tithe, they celebrate the Sabbath on Saturday till tomorrow. But the Christians have turned it to Sunday. Was it ordered by Jesus? No. Was it ordered by disciples? No. Is it in the Bible? No. So how are we practicing on a day that is not inside Bible? People, when are we going to use our sense? You know what? I'm the most stupid person in Nigeria, because only me seeing this thing. The rest of Nigeria is stoning me. Daddy Freeze, you are heretic. Daddy Freeze. I'm asking you, this Bible that people have as the constitution of Christianity, show me where it says The Sabbath has been moved to Sunday. Somebody said the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. Okay, if the man was not made for the Sabbath, how did we arrive at worshiping God on Sunday? How? That we turned it into a doctrine that God must be worshipped on Sunday. If you are saying the Sabbath, man was not made for the Sabbath was made for man. Okay, man was not made for Sunday too, Sunday service. Sunday service was made for man, and man can decide not to go to church on Sunday. Because God did not give you. Now let's even establish how. Let me make sense to you from the Sabbath. If you go to the book of Mark chapter 2 verse 24. Let's do this quickly. We're going to read through the Bible very quickly. Mark, just type it in your Google. Mark 2:24. I'm training a brood of shepherds, a team of shepherds. Okay? So I want you all to have the Bible at your fingertips. Anybody talk too much, you give them Bible. The Pharisees said to Jesus, "Look, why are they doing what is unlawful on the Sabbath?" He answered, "Have you never read that what David did when he and his companions were hungry and in need? In the day of Abiathar the high priest, he entered into the house of God and ate the consecrated bread, which is lawful only for priests to eat. And he also gave some to his companions. Then he said to them, the Sabbath was made for man, not man made for Sabbath. So the Son of Man is Lord even over the Sabbath." Now, being Lord over the Sabbath does not mean he wants to change the Sabbath. It means he can heal on the Sabbath. It means he can preach on the Sabbath. It does not mean he wants to buy add and delete form like we used to buy those days in university. In university, when you register all your courses, then you now go and you attend one course and you see that, yay, this course is bigger than me. You now buy add and delete form. You now delete that course and add another course. We cannot buy add and delete course form for Sabbath. We delete the old Sabbath and we add a new one that is convenient for us. How did it get here? I want to ask you. Now let's go a little bit further. In Acts chapter 13 verse 14. Let's open the Bible. Acts, type it there. 13. Acts 13:14. Are you there with me? Acts 13:14. Who has his Bible there? I need all of you to have Bibles. Thank you, Irene, for typing the message. Now 14 says, from Perga they went on to Pisidian Antioch. On the Sabbath day they entered the synagogue and sat down. After the reading from the law and the prophets, the leaders of the synagogue sent word to them, saying, brothers, if you have a word of exhortation for the people, please speak. Standing up, Paul motioned with his hand and said, fellow Israelites, and you Gentiles who worship God, listen to me. The God of the people of Israel chose our ancestors. He made the people prosper during their stay in Egypt. With mighty power he led them out of that country. For all about 40 years he endured their conduct in the wilderness, and he overthrew 7 nations in Canaan, giving their land to his people as their inheritance. What is it that Paul was doing? He was preaching in the temple on the Sabbath. Are you guys with me? Paul was preaching in the temple on the Sabbath. Let's go to Acts 42. We're reading 44 right now. Sorry, Acts 27. Oh my goodness. I beg your pardon. Okay, back on Acts 13:27. I wanted to read 27 to you guys. 27. Okay. The people of Jerusalem and their rulers did not recognize Jesus, yet in condemning him, they fulfilled the words of the prophet, and they are read every Sabbath. Very, very important. If we go to 42 right now, that's Acts 13:42. Please be with me. Let's do this together. As Paul and Barnabas were leaving the synagogue, the people invited them to speak further about these things on the next Sabbath. So they invited Paul to come again and speak on the next Sabbath. Let's continue. 44 says, on the next Sabbath, almost the whole city gathered to hear the word of the Lord. When the Jews saw the crowds, they were filled with jealousy. They began to contradict what Paul was saying and heaping abuse on him. Where was Paul speaking? In the synagogue on the Sabbath. Let's continue. If we can go to 15, Acts 15 right now. I want to read 21 real quick, in passing, real quick. I'm not going to waste your time. For the law of Moses has been preached in every city from the earliest times and is read in the synagogues every Sabbath. Every Sabbath. Okay? They do what? They read the word of Moses. If we go to Acts 17 right now and we read 2, just go there to Acts 17:2. As was his custom, Paul went into the synagogue, and on 3 Sabbath days he reasoned with them from the scriptures. Paul used to preach on the Sabbath. Everybody look at someone beside you and say Sabbath. Let's honor the Sabbath, not the Lamba. In Christianity today, we do not honor the Sabbath, we honor the Lamba. When they give us Lamba, we honor it. Okay. Oh. If we go to the book of Acts chapter 18 again, and read 4 right now. Every Sabbath he reasoned in the synagogue, trying to persuade Jews and Greeks. When Silas and Timothy came from Macedonia, Paul devoted himself exclusively to preaching, testifying to the Jews that Jesus was the Messiah. On the Sabbath. I don't know who it is that I'm speaking to today, but I want you to look at someone beside you right now and tell them on the Sabbath. Now, somebody says, does it make any difference what day people converge? Oh, yes, it does. Like hell, it does. You know why? We want to know why Sunday was chosen. Why not Monday? Why not Tuesday? Why not Wednesday? Why not Thursday? Why not Friday? Why not the Sabbath? Why was Sunday chosen? Let us go to the internet. You see, the internet is there on your phone. A lot of you do not like to check it. You see, the Sabbath was first of all watered down the first 300 years AD. Christians during that era kept the Sabbath on designated 7 days of the week for the first 300 years. Then Christianity became an illegal religion and God's people were scattered abroad. You can read that in the book of Acts chapter 8 verse 1. You could check that out. Acts 8:1. Let's do this real quick. We need the Bible. The Bible is our manual. Acts 8:1. Acts 8:1. And Saul was consenting to his death, that it was a time that great persecution against the church, which was at Jerusalem, and they were all scattered abroad throughout the regions of Judea and Samaria, except the apostles. So there was a great scattering abroad. Okay? Judaism, however, was regarded as at that time as legal, as long as they obeyed the Roman law. Now, during the apostolic era, Christians found it convenient to let the Roman authorities think of them as Jews, which gained them the legitimacy with the Roman government. However, when the Jews rebelled against Rome, the Romans put down their rebellion by destroying Jerusalem. This happened in 70 AD. Okay? Now, uncomfortable for Christians to be thought of as Jewish at that time, Sunday was the rest day of the Roman Empire, whose religion was a form of sun worship. Since Sabbath observance is visible to others, some Christians in the early 2nd century sought to distance themselves from Judaism by observing a different day, thus blending into the society around them. And what day did they blend into? They blended into the worship of the sun god. Instead of them to align with Judaism, the Judaism where they go and collect tithe, Malachi is Judaism. I hope you know. Malachi 3:8-10. Instead of them to align with Judaism, they aligned with the worship of the sun god. Because of what? They were playing politics. Why did they align as such? Because they were playing politics. The religion in Rome at that time was Mithraism. Mithraism, I beg your pardon. And Mithraism, you could Google it, put it on your Google. What is Mithraism? Is a form of sun worship. So by observing on a different day, what the Christians did was they blended into the society. You see, when I brought up Majek at the beginning of this topic, a lot of you people did not realize what I was doing. I was trying to show that in blending in with the society, we have made mockery of the word. We have started honoring. We have started worshiping God on a day set aside to worship the sun god. Whereas God himself, at least in the Bible, has said, well, the Sabbath is to be holy. So Saturday is no longer holy. You do all your rubbish on Saturday, and then on Sunday, you go and worship God. Something that started through politics. That's why today you watch a Christian gospel concert and you see a politician and a Christian standing together on the pulpit. I'm going to take this a little further. Now, Emperor Constantine, who was a pagan sun worshipper, he came into power in 313 AD. He was the first person to legalize Christianity. And he made the first Sunday keeping law. His famous Sunday enforcement law of March 7, 321 AD reads as follows. On the venerable day of the sun, let the magistrates and people residing in the cities rest, and let all workshops be closed. The Sunday law was officially confirmed by the Roman papacy. The council in AD 364 decreed Christians should not Judaize and be idle on Saturday, but shall work on that day, but the Lord's day they shall especially honor as being Christian. Who chose the Lord's day? Question, was it Jesus? No. Was it the disciples? No. Was it the Bible? No. Who chose it? An emperor. Was he Christian? No. His name was Emperor Constantine, and he worshipped the sun god. Woo! Ow, the door jammed. So, are there any questions? Larry says, we go further. Luke 23:50. Somebody quoted Luke 23:50. Let's see what Luke 23:50 has to say. And behold, there was a man named Joseph, a counselor. He was a good man and a just. What does that have to do with what we're saying, boss? Okay? How can we go back? Luke 23:50 is not particularly relevant to what we're preaching. He just quoted it, so I just read it out. The Sabbath was chosen by someone who worshipped. The new Sabbath was chosen by someone who worships the sun god. And it has become a doctrine of Christianity, despite not having anything to do with Christianity. I want to ask you, as I officially round off, if you've got a Bible, I want you to go with me to the book of Matthew 15:9 as I officially round off today. Matthew 15:9. But in vain they do worship me, teaching the commandments of men. In vain they worship me, teaching the commandments of men. The commandments of Constantine. The commandments of the sun god. Who's with me this afternoon? I want to take another verse from the Bible. Let's go to the book of Mark. Mark 7, and let's read 7. Howbeit in vain do they worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men. They have established a doctrine in a commandment of a man who was not a Christian. One day I'm going to sit down and break down the King James Version, how it came to pass. Was it translated by Christians? The more you know, the more you realize that we have to go back to the Word. Any questions as I officially round off? We're teaching doctrines of men as commandments, not the Word of God. Mark 7:7. Can somebody type Mark 7:7 out for me, please? Sabbath is supposed to be the seventh day of the week. The International Standard Organization agrees that Monday is the first day of the week. Was Moses beating somebody up on Monday? You see, let's use our sense and not use the International Standard and all these things. Let's go. You see, the Sabbath actually began in the evening of Friday. That is why Jesus had to hurriedly be removed from the cross. The Sabbath began on the evening of Friday. What day was Jesus nailed to the cross? Why did they want to remove him from the cross? Because of the Sabbath. If the Sabbath was Sunday, will you keep quiet and stop telling me about the International Standard Version of 2017? It's still Mark 7:7. They are teaching doctrines for the commandments of men. You are telling me of the international day that people put aside. Please. Jesus had to be... Okay, you know what? Let's go and read Jesus removed from the cross because of the Sabbath. Let's go and read. At least people agree that Jesus was nailed to the cross on a Friday. Please, if you people don't know Bible, just keep quiet. Don't come and read me what the International Standard Organization says. Is it not a doctrine of man? Please, 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 please. Let's go. Let's just Google Jesus nailed to the cross. I'm reading you the Bible, telling you that we are celebrating the doctrines of men. You are reading me International Standard Organization. Is it not the problem that we have today, following the standard organization of the international community? Are they Christians? Let's type Jesus removed from the cross. So it will take you exactly there. John 19:38. I'm sorry, I'm trying to stay calm, but I hate it when people just try to create confusion by quoting. I'm reading you the Bible that's telling you to watch out for doctrines of men, and you are bringing another doctrine of man. John 19. Especially now that I'm talking to the international community, I'm sorry, I apologize for my outburst. So once again, I do apologize for you guys, please. John 19:31. The Jews, therefore, because it was the preparation that the body should not remain upon the cross on the Sabbath day, for that Sabbath day was a high day. Not only was this a Sabbath, it was a special Sabbath. Jesus was not supposed to be allowed on the cross. So he had to be brought down because of the Sabbath. And you are now telling me the Sabbath is Sunday. Sunday that he resurrected has now turned to Sabbath, when they said they had to bring him down because the day after they nailed him to the cross was the Sabbath. People, let's think. If we think, we will not die. I wish I could find the Bibles my great-grandfathers read, because I'm certain it's going to be different from 2017 Bible. Of course. All right, guys, forgive me. Okay? Any more questions? I'm going to take one question on Instagram, one question on YouTube, and that would be it. I've burnt your data enough for today. It's celebrating Christmas, right? We're going to talk about that just before Christmas, I promise you. I want to talk about things in their season. We're also going to talk about first fruit, the falsehood of the first fruit just before January. Okay? He died on the preparation day, which is called Friday. God bless you. Let's use our brains. Who wrote the Bible? I'm going to talk about that, but not today. Somebody said the best topic I've preached. Are you guys serious? Matthew 18:19. Fab Mama 4, how are you, my beautiful lawyer friend? I consulted her last night around 2 a.m. She was still awake. I had to send her a message about something I wanted to post to proofread it for me. Thank you. Somebody says full of anger and hate. I'm angry. I don't hate too. Me, I'm not full of hatred, but I'm full of anger at the lies that have become doctrines, at the fraud that has been brought in legally into the body of Christ, and at the nonsense that this has become. I'm utterly ashamed of myself and of other Christians who failed to rise at an earlier date to stop this fraud. So, can I officially close now? So what's the way forward? Going back to worship on a Saturday? There's so many things that we're going to work on. But you see, the problem with chains is a black man wears his chains with swag. The chains of our imprisonment are gold plated. They look really nice. So they wear their chains with pride. I'm a proud slave. My man of God that imprisoned me, leave him. You can't judge him. Did they tell you I don't like being a slave? So you need to understand that. Okay? We enjoy the slavery. We don't want to change. Now, I read an article that said children who are brought up religious tend to find it difficult to accept fact and find it easier to believe folklore. People who are brought up religious find it easier to believe African magic. They find it easier to understand African magic than the laws of science. I don't know if I'm making... Yes, they'll say, is it your slavery? So there's so many things we need to change. And there's so many things that have been established in fraud. And guys, aren't you wondering that for me to rise and for me to be able to gather so much momentum against all these people, it means definitely that there is a force stronger than my human ability behind me. I don't know if you understand. How can me and a group of people be able to start changing a mindset that has been established over so many years? You know why? Look at someone beside you and tell them God is with us, because we want to establish his doctrine. We want to reinforce the proper Christian belief system, not the lies we have been sold. God bless you. God bless you all. God guide, guard, and protect you. And let's all make it happen in the name of Jesus. God is with us. I greet you, Charles. I greet you, Fab Mom of 4. I greet you, Irene. I greet you, every single person who's been with us. Yemi Fatoki, Fidelia, I greet you all. God bless you. Please share the video. Let as many people as possible see this. God bless you all.